Games 3 and 4, the Suns lost in Dallas. The series went back 2-2, Game 5 in Phoenix, and Devin Booker and the Suns went off.
Everybody's got a little light under the sun. And D-Book normally leads the way in the first quarter as he led the league in points to start off the game in the first stanza. But he continued it.
Yeah, he did.
And he got the bucket after bucket that his team needed. And they needed all of them. And you know who else they needed? DeAndre Ayton.
Ayton played well.
They're going to need him to punish those smaller lineups.
Kleba.
Up front in particular. And so both of those things happened. Mikal Bridges had his best game of the series. And so for the Dallas Mavs, it was Luka, Brunson, not as efficient as you need them to be, and everybody else wasn't clearly knocking down threes like they were in the other game.
They had 80 points.
And for the Phoenix Suns, it was get back to basics and feed the big fella. And that's what's going to be a catalyst for this series. But I can't ignore a few things. I was in the same draft as Jason Kidd. And it was almost like to see him at the press conference and talk about the lack of assists that his team had. I know Payne, one of the greatest point guards, a triple-double threats that this league has seen. So how do you get there? When you knock down as many threes as they did in the previous game, we staying home now. So now Luka's moves and Jalen Brunson's moves have to be more dribbles. You're trying to back down a little more. You're more isolating. And now you shoot over a contest, you miss, we going the other way. And the other thing I can't ignore, Jacoby, and I purposely haven't said Chris Paul's name, like he struggled mightily
in 3 games in a row
against this team. And I figured out why. Because Chris Paul normally is the physical defender that slows down the offensive player and is able to punish them. You know, with his elbows, with his knees, with his antics, like he's always been a guard that could get you elite level playmaking, but also wasn't lacking defensive. Imagine what he's thinking when Jalen Brunson posted him up.
Spider-Man meme.
Right?
Just looking at each other like, wait, this is what I do.
Right, exactly. And then when you know you can't stop Luka on the post. And Reggie Bullock is doing a great job of frustrating CP3.
Long.
Absolutely. And Finney Smith as well. So I want to make sure that I acknowledge while Phoenix did do a terrific job of taking the lead back in this series, and can't nobody act like we don't believe that Phoenix is going to win this series. They'll win this series. But I am surprised that Dallas is pressing them the way they are. And I'm saying that to say this is going 7.
Well, it wasn't competitive, but it was competitive. You know I love competitive.
I like what you did there.
And we have this video of Devin Booker going up for a shot, going to the floor, and then sort of acting like he was hurt, and he called it the Luka special. Jalen Rose, you see the Luka special here? So look at him. He's acting like he's hurt, and then he looks at the guy filming it and calls it the Luka special with a big smile on his face.
I love the personality on the play. But one thing this also acknowledges is that NBA players cry wolf. And so now as fans and media and as the opponent, when you see a player sprawled out on the floor and then they get back up and they continue to play well, almost like my brother Paul Pierce, what he did, he left in the wheelchair and came back, was knocking down threes, and it's like an interesting moment in history. So for D-Book, you're right, it's being competitive because that's what Luka does.
Yep.
And however, that's normally what CP3 does as well. And so now all of a sudden, you go back in Game 6 in Dallas. I don't think there are 14 guys other than Brunson and Luka are going to combine to score 31 points. You know what I mean? I don't think Luka's only going to have 2 assists, and the team only had 9. I think they're going to play a lot better. Even though they got waxed. And you know I want to make sure I pay homage to Monty Williams because he's moving pieces on the chessboard without Chris Paul playing well. But I didn't believe this series would go 7 when it started. Now I believe that it is.
Well, the competitiveness did not stop with Booker because it was after the game when Luka was walking through the tunnel. After being waxed by 30 points, Luka walks through the tunnel and says, everybody's acted tough when they're up. Mr. Rose, what do you think about that? And you know the Phoenix Suns are going to see that video.
Well, the thing is, players always hate when it seems like the other team is front running. And that kind of happened with the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first series against Memphis. And then when you get a glimpse inside of the huddle, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. They talking tough when they win or when they up. But now when they losing, it's complain about the refs.
Yep.
It's we need to call the league. And so as a team, you draw momentum when the other team starts to whine. You know this, Jacoby. You hear people start, that's almost like in a boxing match. You hit them with a Bible and you just hear them make that noise. It's the exact same thing. In basketball, when you hear somebody whining to the refs and or to their teammates or to the opponent, in your mind, you have something there. So for Luka, I believe, again, the Mavs are going to go back home, recompose themselves, and make this a long series.
And of course, it's a playoff series, Game 5, so we had a hold me back moment. This time it was between two not exactly marquee players in the series, Bismack Biyombo and Marquise Chris. Got a little tangled up, got ejected.
Oh, me
and
back!
then it was Chris running through the tunnel after Biyombo.
So for Chris, I'm happy to see the young fella still in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And
former Sun.
He got drafted by the Suns, and it didn't work out for him. So he's at a point of his career, like being in Dallas and playing quality minutes, young fella, that's a real opportunity for you to get more minutes in this series, to be a part of their team moving forward. So you must value those minutes, first off. So you can't be getting caught up in altercations like this. It's just not a good look.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.